News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Brought to you by Little Stinkers Lilac-Scented Baby Orangutan Diapers. A fresh-smelling orangutan is a happy orangutan. Choose from Action Fit, Triple Absorbency, or Overnight Comfort varieties. Bring the joy of potty training a jungle animal back into your life with Little Stinkers Lilac-Scented Baby Orangutan Diapers.
Oh, yeah. Allan, and I mean, kids can use them too.
Oh, the flashbacks. I'm just saying.
Anyway, welcome to Geek. That's what it sounds like. Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
And I'm Allan Gilbreth with darkhookmedia.com.
And, of course, we got our buddy Max behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, we invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. And I've already posted the must-have item of the week, Allan. I was on top of things this morning. And I will say, real quickly, before we get into anything, we want to give a big shout-out to everybody who dropped by our booth last week at the home show of the Mid-South. That was a lot of fun, Allan. We met, I don't usually get the opportunity to meet people that listen to the show, but quite a number of them dropped by. It was
there were a lot of people admitting. Walked over, hey, I listened to your show. Hey, I saw the... and to everybody that got there in time to get their giant camouflage rubber ducky, man, well done.
Before they sold out.
Yeah, they sold out. What an amazing show. I mean, if you wanted to steal the best ideas available, you had them all under one roof.
It was great. So, hats off. Thanks for having us again, everybody there. And we're already looking forward to next year, Allan.
Absolutely.
And I will say it's also nice having Max back in working here with Max again, where he's not playing with the volume on my headphones like Allan was. Allan thought it was really amusing in the middle of the live broadcast to be turning my volume up and down. Thanks a lot, Allan. Anyway, enough of that. But
glad to help.
Hey, speaking of things Allan's going to be doing today, Allan, lasers and home improvement. There's a lot of laser applications as far as, measuring things, moisture detection, checking temperatures. Really, our toolbox is probably going to get a lot more streamlined as we go.
It looks very techy.
Yeah. Max has another one of his deep cuts. Get this, Allan. We know Max is into Japanese culture and everything. He's got Buddhism, suffering, and home improvement. That was the tag that he gave us. So
I can easily pick that up and run with it.
Yeah. I'm dealing with a cinder block wall, Allan. This is a cinder block wall with a problem. This thing's 150 feet long, and we're going to discuss my situation and also the pros and cons of building with cinder blocks. They're useful tools, but also there are warning things. We have quite a number of things. I've learned not to over tease because we're never going to get to them all.
Stuff happens.
And of course, like we said, we'd love to talk to you. So it's all coming at you today on Tool Talk Radio. But before we get to any of that.
And now, Tool Talk Radio's weekly salute.
There is something to be said for having the freedom to pick up and go. Whenever Forrest Gump's friend Jenny was in trouble, he was always ready to pick up and go to her aid. What a loyal friend he was. Many fans of Major League Baseball wish Ron Manfred would pick up and go off to his retirement. That's a little inside baseball comment.
We wish you would pick up and go with your baseball references.
Tired of that guy. Many is the Saturday morning when Max, the producer, wishes he could pick up and go as far away from the hosts of Tool Talk Radio as possible. However, his steadfast dedication to Cumulus Media, his scientific curiosity, and his high threshold for dealing with idiocy prevents him from acting upon the impulse. And thank goodness, Allan,
All of them are a part of my scientific curiosity, actually.
That's right. And, of course, during one particular low point in Allan Gilbreth's career, when he found himself working for a door-to-door orangutan adoption service.
Like I said, the flashbacks.
Carry a big suitcase. Allan was struck with a desire to pick up and go in a completely new direction and start a business of his own, one which would still allow him to work with wildlife in the great outdoors, but one more suited to his taste and abilities, thus beginning Allan's new career of breeding vultures. I mean, Allan, it's, somebody's got to do it.
They're an absolute integral part of the environment.
Absolutely. Yes, there has never been a time when picking up and going has ever been easier, including those times when we have to transport building materials from one place to another, or vultures. So today we celebrate one of the vehicles of choice for just such operations, an exceedingly useful vehicle which has traveled our roughest roads and has been celebrated in song and is revered by their owners all across the world. My friends, we give you the pickup truck.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've ever owned a pickup truck, you know that you suddenly have, thousands of best friends that you didn't really...
Oh, you have friends and relatives coming out of the woodwork every weekend.
Calling you from Walmart. They just bought that new barbecue grill. They don't know how to get it home. Calling you from, I need you to haul this lumber. I need to move. Allan, you know all about it.
Oh, you learn where every mass retailer is in the city easily.
Yeah, but what a great vehicle. I feel like it's worthy of a salute here on Tool Talk Radio. And let's give a shout out. It's debated when the first pickup truck came along, but I think it's fair to say that 1896 there was a German engineer, Gottlieb Daimler, and we should all. That name Daimler should ring a bell.
It should indeed.
He invented something. Get this, Allan. It was a motorized, it was a motorized kind of trolley car, I guess. It only had 4 horsepower and 2 cylinders.
Right.
It was called the Phoenix engine, which was kind of neat. And anyway, there's some information here. But it was just interesting to learn that it goes back that far, man.
It does. And then a company came along about 1907, International Harvester, and they came up with what they called the Model A wagon. Because, what was happening, especially inner city, was we now had streets, and we didn't need the great big giant transports.
Oh, right.
So people like you and I needed something smaller, but yet still able to get the work done.
Oh, so it was more revolutionary for how compact it kind of was.
Yes. It could fit down those narrow little streets and get your goods where you needed them to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So big shout out to pickup trucks. And if you own one, I'm sure you know what we're talking about. It's come in handy many times. So, well, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We're going to dive right in, Allan. As soon as we come back, we're going to talk about lasers and home improvement.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Salt water will warp the wood, so keep your tears in your eyes where they belong.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Yeah, Allan, keep those tears in your eyes, man. Enough of this emotion.
Enough emotion with you and Javier Baez.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you seen how upset the orangutans are, Joe? Really, come on.
Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, we invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. You can give us a like and check out our must-have item of the week. And, send us your story. Send us your questions. We can answer in real time, actually. We're happy to get texts, but sometimes maybe you need to send a picture of something and ask a question about that or a video. So send those and send them right over there. And make sure you like the page. And, of course, Allan always posts our past episodes and, there's links there. There's just, it's sort of a one-stop shop. So, and of course, you can always go to tooltalkradio.com. There's really no reason to miss us. We don't plug that enough, Allan.
And you can take us with you. We're available on YouTube and Spotify.
You always sell YouTube first. There's a little battle going on here. I'm a Spotify man. You're a YouTube man. I don't know why, but anyway.
Because they're both available.
Anyway. Hey, Allan, in a minute, we're going to talk about lasers in home improvement and the new ways they're being applied and the new, our toolbox is starting to look a lot different. So
yes.
We're going to unpack that. Before we do, I want to mention something. Last week was a lot of fun. We got to see our good buddy Larry Brown in person and the elusive Mrs. Brown.
Indeed.
She made a stop at the home show of the Mid-South. It was great to see her. And, of course, if you need any HVAC, if you have any HVAC needs, if you need to clean the air in your home, which who doesn't, especially with the pollen season coming up.
Oh, goodness, it has begun.
And if you want to get high tech and have a smart home system installed so that there's an app for your security and an app for, adjusting the temperature in your home, really, they're the best group to call. They've been around forever. They have a great culture over there. They take care of you. As soon as you get in touch with Brown Refrigeration, you're in good hands. So they're happy to help you even with a simple tune-up of your HVAC system. So they can help you in any situation. Give them a call. Ask for Larry. Give them a call at 901-362-1881 or go to brownref.com. I take it back. Larry might be out in the field. Just ask for anybody.
Well, I got news for you. They're going to be busy people the next few weeks trying to get these things ready for spring.
Yeah, they always are, but it's because of the great work that they do. So, hey, Allan, okay, lasers and home improvement. I know what you're talking about here, but there's, laser technology has become something you can just pick up at your big box store now. And it's exceedingly useful, not just for, measuring things or whatever. It's kind of taking on a lot of applications, right?
Well, it is. Let's just start with what is a laser? It is light amplification by stimulated emission of electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah, who's the egghead that came up with that? I mean, laser's a cool sounding word, but as an acronym, it's interesting that they came up with that one.
That would be Theodore H. Maiman at the Hughes Research Laboratories in 1960.
What do you bet? He came up with the acronym he came up with the name laser and then wrapped an acronym around it. That's my guess, because he said laser just sounds cool. So.
Well, acronyms usually I find come from grad students.
Okay.
You're doing all this work, and they come up with an easier way of saying it.
Yeah,
because the person doing the real digging on that usually sticks with all the long words.
Right.
And the grad student comes on and goes, man, just call it a laser and let's move on.
And move along. So
all right. So since 1960, and this is, come on, folks, this is actually not that terribly long ago.
No.
And we found out if we played with, and when we say the word radiation, people don't freak out. Pretty much everything is radiation. You emit radiation. Just throwing out there we're warm-blooded creatures. We produce, a radiant heat.
Plants wouldn't grow without radiation, right?
We got to have sunlight. We got to have all that good stuff. So with that said, we've gone from this kind of theoretical idea of what can you do with light to now in 2020, the question is what can't we do with light?
Right.
Number one thing that you and I run into all the time, laser welding. You don't realize you run into laser welding all the time, but there are very few products out there these days that don't have some type of mechanical, robotic, or laser welding involved in the production of it.
Well, I would think if you have a computer or a smartphone or anything, you're going to have... You can't just get up there with a big... there's micro laser...
Well, and lasers helped us get to the LED.
Right.
Because, again, we're focusing a lot of energy and a lot of effort in tinier and tinier and tinier places. And we've actually reached a point with some technology where physical tools can't reach anymore. That's
right.
Welcome to getting down to the nano stuff.
Right.
Now, I say all of that to now walk into the big box store and just walking up to the door, guess what?
Right.
You've been lasered.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what opens the door automatically.
It does. It senses you coming and the door opens. Now, can you buy tools ridiculously cheap with this shocking technology? Yeah, you can buy a laser pointer these days for like $3.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What? Really? We're walking around with the single highest concentration of electromagnetic radiation, and we're playing with the cat with it.
Okay.
So
are you going to get to the stuff that we teased, Allan?
We are, because we are there.
Okay.
Because,
right.
From that little cat toy, this week, I had a gentleman in my home doing some measurements for a couple of things for me.
Okay.
And he did not pull out a tape measure.
Right.
He just took a little tiny box out of his pocket, pressed one button on it, pressed it up against the wall, a laser beam shot out to the other wall, and it gave him the exact perfect measurement from the distance between those two spaces.
That's what I was getting. Yeah, because
Boom.
a tape measure, if you're trying to measure, from one baseboard to the next, or how much sheetrock do I need for this room?
Exactly.
Boom.
So
Yeah.
I mean, this was exact. It was precise, and the little thingy he pulled out of his pocket cost about as much as a good tape measure.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Allan, because in phase one of this operation, one thing that I have to admit, I've gotten to, like on my phone, for example, there's that little notepad app.
Mm-hmm.
I use that pretty much. I hardly write my shopping list down anymore. It used to be in the old days, if I'm going to the big box store to pick up lumber and everything, I'd write it all down on a piece of paper, then I kept it in my pocket. Well, now I just type a note there. Well, I'm wondering how long it's going to be before there's an app on my phone where I hold that laser beam up there, I measure it, and it automatically calculates I need 8 pieces of sheetrock for this, or I need this much baseboard, or I need this much whatever, and it just sort of I don't think it's that far-fetched to think it'll go there.
Laser data input is already a thing.
Yeah, I kind of figured,
So, it's just we're it's not quite at the big box store yet, but I give it another year or two.
Okay.
However, you want to make sure that the 3 things you're hanging on the wall are level.
There
Guess
we go.
what? We now have a laser emitter that will draw a line all the way across your wall, absolutely perfectly level, so that you can work at that level throughout the entire room.
Yep. Because
Just, as I was flipping through, I was kind of like, all right, so we can measure with the laser. We can look at this with the laser. And I even noticed on several pieces of more standardized equipment, they now have lasers on them. So like your circle saw, your skill saw, these things like that will now lay down a perfectly straight laser line for you to follow.
Okay.
Back when I was in high school, I used to take theater tech, and we when we were making a big set for a play called "You Can't Take It With You," we had I think it was called a miter saw, where it has a laser in the middle. You could say it is for guiding, but I think it was more so for safety and everything to make so if there's an emergency situation, I don't know exactly the specifics of it, but if there's an emergency, that little laser can kind of detect what the problem is and stop the blade.
Well, you're not wrong, Max, because there's I know that a lot of table saws these days have a safety. If you get your fingers too close to the blade, it'll instantly stop. But also
or your garage door has a laser in it to notify you that the cat just ran underneath there. So instead of whacking the cat, it'll stop the garage doors.
Yeah. I mean, and it's amazing how precise these things are. Because when you were talking about the guy measuring your house, it reminded me a little bit of how they measured the depth of the ocean, right? It shoots, was it sonar? It shoots it down and it bounces it back up, and then it gives you an idea of how deep it is. Well, this is doing the same thing, but down to the I'd have to imagine down to the 64th of an inch or more.
Now we have LiDAR, which will actually allow you to electronically strip away vegetation and just take a look at the ground formations.
That sounds like a lie detector.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, because what I wanted to... I'm going to tease something, Allan. I saw something. I don't know if you have this on your checklist, but it involves stripping furniture.
Oh, yeah, when
How's
we come
that?
back. How about that?
All with the power of lasers. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break and continue our laser talk.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I wonder if they're fraternal or identical tools.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Man, that jerk from the studio. How did he get back in?
I bring him back in every now and then to mock you.
Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and the feisty Max, the producer, behind the glass.
And that other guy, whoever he was.
All right. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page. Give us a like. Check out all the action. Check out the must-have item of the week. Check out past shows that we put up there. And join the community. Join the gang. So,
Oh, absolutely.
In a minute, Alan, we're going to step back into our discussion about lasers and all the, we're really just kind of touching on some of the applications that are involved in home improvement. Before we get to that, though, I want to mention one of our new sponsors. She's not new to us. We've known her for quite a while, but she's new to Tool Talk Radio, and it's Cindy Williams, the owner of Shelf Genie of the Mid-South. And Alan, this is right in your wheelhouse. I know you are a kitchen man. The kitchen is your domain.
Yes.
Well, a lot of other people feel that way too. Or, well, the kitchen and the bathroom. There is so much unused space in there. We put a lot of things in the kitchen. We put a lot of things in our kitchen cabinets and in our bathroom cabinets, and they need to be organized, especially, for one thing, so you can get the maximum amount of storage, but also some people have mobility issues. Some people find it difficult to get to that very bottom cabinet to pull out the, the frying pan or the oatmeal or whatever they've got in there.
Oh, yes.
Well, Shelf Genie of the Mid-South, they create custom glide-out systems designed exactly to your needs. It's really kind of cool. The designers come to your home. They do a real in-depth analysis of your kitchen with you, and then they figure out the best solutions for you, and that entire process is free. And the whole team is great. They stand behind their products. They're very well made, and it's going to really improve your life. So get in touch with the good people at Shelf Genie of the Mid-South. You can give them a call at 901-422-8225 or go to shelfgenie.com/Mid-South and make sure you tell them you heard about it on Tool Talk Radio. That's kind of fun for us. We get to hear some feedback. So,
well, I tell you, the reaction to her booth last week, that was one busy booth.
Oh yeah, they always make a big impact. Yeah, they do it up right. Everything about them.
It's just impressive. They walk over, you open a cabinet, and that cabinet's not just stuff falling out and scattered everywhere. It is neat, nice, tight, and usable.
Absolutely. So give them a buzz. 901-422-8225. All right, Alan, we've been discussing lasers, and I saw one thing. I will tell you this. I don't do Facebook very much except for, promoting the show or the convention or something. But I've learned that by, sometimes you get these like video commercials that pop up.
Right.
And if they're annoying to me, I say, please don't show them. I hit that thing and says, please don't show them. But if I like something, I'll either bookmark it or I guess the algorithms have learned what I'm actually going to respond to. And one that I saw that popped up, I definitely saved. It was kind of it looked like it was, they were using the power of light. It was like something you hold in the palm of your hand, and they were moving it across a door. And it was actually stripping away paint down to the bare wood. And I was like, okay, this has got to be an improvement over all the harsh chemicals. Because, man, if you talk about chemicals, the ones that are used to strip paint and everything, those are rough. They can even burn through the rubber gloves that you're wearing. So
they will definitely eat your hands up.
And I'm sure the environment doesn't love them. So what's that all about, Alan? That was new to me.
Okay, well, you're looking at an item one that is very precision laser measured, and then it is adding the depth that you want to remove.
Okay,
and then
good. Yeah, because sometimes you just need that little top layer skimmed off.
And we're... it's hard to even kind of define the thinness of this. So we're going to say basically it's going to measure the distance between the emitter and the solid surface, and then it's going to add the width of like a human hair. And then we're going to say this is where the laser is going to operate. So it's going to go in and it's going to remove that tiny little layer, that very first layer. And this works a lot like a lot of dermal procedures work.
It's funny because, woodworking and skincare is not dissimilar.
They use a lot of, it gets a little scary sometimes, folks. We use a lot of the same terminology and occasionally a lot of the same tech.
Sure.
So this is going to go in and it's going to basically level off or use a high-intensity laser to cook or remove that layer. Now, this is kind of a little tiny grandchild of that monster you have sitting in your garage.
A laser cutter.
You have a laser engraver and laser cutter,
right?
And you can actually tell it how deep you want that material removed.
That's true. It's down to like 1/100 of an inch. That's how you set it. You just set how deep you want that thing to burn in, and
you tell it the
precise
pattern you want it to burn, and then you just get out of its way and let it do its job.
Yeah. So that, but I like that because the more, well, let's face it, if you strip a front door, man, that is hours and hours of work, and you really never get rid of it all. And usually you do more damage to the wood than anything. So having a cleaner solution to do that, just that alone is a big improvement. That's great, man.
So we're measuring with lasers. We're cutting with lasers. We are analyzing colors with lasers. We are providing safeties with lasers. We'll pick on the easy one like Max's saw and or the garage doors. This is all laser. This is all laser. One thing I noticed that I just noticed was a device called a SAM. And what this is a screening device that you're going to see cropping up. Right now it's in medical facilities, but because I know we'd all like to think the pandemic's over, it's not, and it's probably not going away. So you're going to see more devices that will actually use lasers to look at your face, take your temperature, and issue you a visitor pass to enter a facility.
Sounds a lot like the mark of the beast from the book of Revelation, Alan. Be careful, man. I don't know.
So, a lot of people have already begun encountering these devices.
Okay.
You go into a medical facility, and it'll say things like, center your face.
Right.
And it will take a picture of you, but it also takes laser temperatures of you and will tell you what your temp is. And,
no contact.
No contact at all.
Right.
You're at least 6 to 8 inches away from this thing, and it'll print you your visitor pass. You put it on, and everybody that encounters you throughout the building knows that your temp was scanned and that you passed whatever the parameters were that they set up in the SAM. So
what does SAM stand for?
It is I'm gonna have to remember. It was a signal amplitude of measuring.
Okay.
Yeah. I had to think about it to
enough.
say it.
Yeah.
So it was, but these are more and more common. So lasers are this unbelievable technological theory that are now, everything from a $2 cat toy to something that will honestly cut stone.
Well, it's a cutting device. It's a measuring device. I was really intrigued, though, because that makes sense to me. I mean, I've seen Star Trek. I know how, their phasers can cut through a boulder or, take a man down or something. But you pointed out something in our show prep last night about moisture detection. Like, how does a light beam detect moisture? Now, that's interesting.
Well, because you have changes in atmospheric density, micro changes due to temperature, we now have devices like a FLIR, which is a really weird-looking camera that lives by temperature.
Yeah.
And there are now moisture detectors that use laser, and you can literally walk up to a wall, point this at it, click it for a second, and it will come back and tell you the wall content is 22% moisture or 8% moisture or 40% moisture. In which case, now you got a problem.
Alan, real quick, I build a lot of patio covers. That's my thing. And sometimes the posts or whatever will need to be stained or painted. And I'm always dealing with, okay, is it ready to paint yet? Is it dry enough? Could I point something at at a 4x4 and it'll tell me?
Yes,
that's what I need.
You just walk over and set it right up there against it, click the button for 1 or 2 seconds, and it would come back and go, your moisture content is this.
Wow. I see a lot of other relevant applications. If you've got a leak in your ceiling, you can point it and say, oh, okay, this is what moisture detection, as we say here, Alan, water is the enemy in your home. And being able to just pull something out, I bet it's portable too, right?
Oh, yeah, so you can put it in your pocket.
That's great, man. Folks, I'm always warning, of course, against the robots taking over, but there's a lot of good technology out there. I would say embrace this stuff. Lasers are, man, talk about handy.
And crazy cheap, which is just so surprising.
Absolutely. So very good, Alan. Stuff's really interesting. So you're listening to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and then, Alan, I'm going to share with you a cinder block wall with a problem.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
You have no skills and you're a loser!
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
I guess is he getting fired, Alan, or what? I mean, I don't understand these people's motivational techniques.
Well, being Squidward, I will point out, his nickname is Calamari, and he's quite tasty.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Alan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, we invite you to check out all of our past shows if you miss any of them. I like to go to Spotify. I like to listen to I like to listen to our shows there. Alan likes to go to YouTube.
Indeed.
It's whatever your preference is, I suppose. So
we are everywhere.
Yeah. And, of course, go to the Facebook page. Give us a like. I've already posted the must-have item of the week, and it's one I'm very enthusiastic about, Alan. This is a item that is exceedingly useful that you and I use all the time.
Oh, yes.
So, in a minute, Alan, I've got to share a tale of woe. I don't know if it's a tale of woe or a warning tale, but it's all about a cinder block wall I'm dealing with this week. Before we get to that, I want to talk about, we've been talking high tech today. We've talked about all the latest applications for laser beams in your home and in your big box store. You know who else embraces high tech principles is our buddy Mike Serafolian at Tri-State Interiors. He does, he's all about kitchen and bathroom remodels.
Yes.
So I guess he's a glutton for punishment, but no,
he
that's
does
the
such
biggie.
a pretty job, though.
No, that's the big one, man. You got to be, when it comes to remodeling your kitchen or bathroom, it's a very, especially the kitchen, it is a very disruptive process.
Yes.
Man, you talk about getting bang for your buck. If you're going to improve your home, that's the place to do it. You're going to, it'll increase your lifestyle for one, but it'll increase the value of your home. But you want to do the process right. And of course, Tri-State Interiors is all about embracing the latest technology, focusing on craftsmanship, sourcing the materials regionally, you could say, and delivering, keeping a low overhead so that they can deliver a good price on that. But Mike is the other thing we also appreciate are these 3D renderings. He comes up with a 3D rendering of your project before they start, and that's where the design process comes in, and you can do all of your adjustments beforehand. You can change the colors, you can change the materials, and once it's ready to go, then he orders all of the materials, and he doesn't do any demolition until they have all of those materials safely in their warehouse. So they're great people. Mike's got a very difficult to spell last name, but he's a very easy to spell company name, Tri-State Interiors. Get in touch with Mike directly at 901-409-1333 or go to tristateinteriorsllc.com. Well, Alan, so this week, I'm not going to name names. I'm working on a job. I'm working in a really interesting part of town. If you're from Memphis, one of my favorite parts of town is over there by the Brooks Museum, right by across the street from there's the zoo, there's the Overton Park. It's really I love it over there.
The Overton Park area. Beautiful, huge trees, great homes.
Yeah, and across the street there's some homes. It's a really cool neighborhood. This is an area where there's some pretty well established homes. Some of them are very old, and then others have been built, but they kept the architecture the same and all that. So, in between the home where I'm working, the neighbor built a really nice fence. It's a brick fence. This thing's 8 or 9 feet tall. It's pretty big.
Wow. Okay.
But it's brick at the bottom, and then there are, if you can imagine, Alan, brick columns. And I'm saying brick; they're actually cinder blocks.
Right.
So, but they're textured and they make it look kind of cool. And the columns in the middle go up about 8 feet, and then in between the columns there is like about a 4-foot area of where it's a wooden fence. So it kind of gives you. It kind of changes the texture a little bit. It gives you a couple of materials, so it's a wooden stone fence basically. Right. Well, somebody, I'd say it looks great, but they didn't really finish it correctly. Basically, all of the, a cinder block is obviously hollow. There's
Right.
like an open area. Well, they didn't put a cap on any of the, the parts where the wood is. They didn't put a cap on any of the, on the top of the column. So water is getting in there because, when we had all those rains, Alan, a few days later, it's sunny out, and I'm wondering why the brick wall is still soaking wet. And I discovered when I got up there and discovered
full of water.
Well, I wanted to talk about that, Alan, because for one thing, my customer wants me to do some finishing work on the fence, and I don't want to do that until I deal with the moisture problem. But I also have to imagine there's a lot of other things going on inside this wall. If it's holding moisture, for one thing, I'm thinking of all the mosquitoes it's breeding in there. This is this wall is like 150 feet long, so that's like a mosquito farm. Right,
it's almost a production facility.
Yeah,
you are correct.
That's problem one. The other problem is if the wall is if the moisture is coming from the inside, how am I going to paint that? It's never gonna, it's gonna peel. I'm not dealing with the dry surface. And then also, I was thinking about this crazy winter that we had when we had the ice storms. Alan, if it's filling up at the bottom and then it's expanding, I'm thinking it could crack the wall. I'm thinking it's eroding in the middle. I just don't see anything good about this. So we're dealing with how I'm going to close off all these areas, cap it off correctly, and all that. But I thought it was also a good time to discuss the pros and cons of dealing with cinder blocks. So let's talk about it. Well,
let's start with its name.
Okay,
it's not a concrete block.
Right.
Yeah, a concrete block is, baked crushed limestone, some kind of aggregate, sand, stone, whatever, and it's dense.
Yeah, and a cinder block, I mean, honestly, it's pretty hardy, but if you drop it sideways, it's going to shatter.
Well, a cinder block is made out of fly ash.
Okay.
All right. So and I love when people go, well, it's made out of fly ash. Turn around and ask somebody, well, what is that?
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, what is that?
And then people kind of go, it's fly ash. All right. Fly ash is what's left over after you use coal in commercial settings.
Huh. Because it's always a light color. That's interesting.
Right. It's a light color. This is what's left over after you use crushed coal in many of the big commercial applications.
Okay.
So a lot of your local utility company may produce quite a bit of fly ash.
All right.
So fly ash is now taken, and it is the aggregate that is used in a cinder block. And that it is compressed. It is compressed together, and it's hollow. It's designed to be a certain shape and size with the gaps and all that. So it makes a relatively cheap, easy building material.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how many college kids that made a cinder block bookshelf, for their...
Still live on cinder block beds and cinder block this and that.
Yep.
Okay, well, where to start here? All right, that is the pro and con of the cinder block. What is good about it is also what's bad. It's compressed fly ash. It's got some strengtheners to it. It's a little bit of concrete, but it's not a concrete block. It's a compressed ash. So it does not have the same strength. 6 inches of cinder block is not as strong as 6 inches of concrete block.
Right.
So welcome to the battle. Now, we use cinder block a lot. You will see entire buildings built out of cinder block.
A lot of crawl spaces, which I always wonder about. They'll have it stacked, a stack of cinder blocks, and they put a patio on there or something.
They are durable. They are, however, moisture sensitive.
See, that's where I was going. Now it's like a sponge.
Well, if you
take a hose and hose down a cinder block and just watch it absorb and soak in there.
Well,
man.
And that's where people think that cinder blocks move water easily. Here's where it gets interesting. Like anything else that moves water, water is rarely pure. It's got particulate in it. It's got soil in it. So as water moves through a cinder block that is brand new, it does move rather easily. But those little tiny pores and cracks are easy to fill up with sediment. Now it doesn't drain anywhere near as well as it used to.
And am I wrong, Alan? Because I've seen that cinder blocks are also prone to a lot of, you get that real dark, it's either mildew or it's just a dark kind of.
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff that'll grow in those little tiny cracks and crevices.
Yeah, it seems like a perfect breeding ground for mildew and everything.
So the trick is cinder block is not concrete block. So, I know I've said that 4 times, but I'll say it 4 more when people kind of go, oh, this is the light-duty version.
Right.
Now, what you have is a fence, and that is a great
Pretty
application
heavy
for
fence.
it.
Yeah.
It's a great application. However, you probably need to provide some form of filler to seal off the inside of the concrete block. Now, me personally, I would use expanding foam.
Well, I wondered about that because I'm torn, Alan. I may just the columns that I talked about. It's going to be very easy for me. I'm probably going to get some decorative kind of pavers and more and cover that. The inside where it's kind of sandwiched between the wooden fence, and that's where I'm sort of torn because I'm having to. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's a 2-sided fence. I'm pulling off one side, and I'm going to deal with filling it in. I mean, I've been thinking about flashing. The only thing, Alan, that is a lot of expanding foam. I mean, this is a huge space we're talking about. It's 150 feet, like I said. And
well, you don't have to necessarily fill the whole void.
Right. Well, I know you probably get the top, and then
you definitely want to get the top so that you're not adding atmospheric moisture.
Yeah, I'm working on a few. I'll provide some pictures of these.
Yeah, I need to come out, or we need to bring some pictures. I need to take a look.
The bigger thing, though, is, folks, that Alan's right about a lot of this, too, in terms of it's not a magic, all durable type of material. And also, please do not use it for your next fire pit because you need the right kind of stone for building things that are going to be able to withstand the heat there. Even a rock, if it's in the wrong thing, we think rocks are indestructible and everything, but, when it comes to heat or water.
Right. I'll take the cinder block for the fire pit over the rock because the rock could explode. The cinder block may just break down.
Oh, okay. Well, but still,
it's a light-duty material. It's not a heavy-duty material.
Yeah. So use cinder blocks sparingly, we should say, or use them correctly.
Use them wisely. Yes.
Yeah, and if you have a fence, another a little thing here too is there's mosquitoes can breed in places that you never suspect. Who would have thought you're looking at a cinder block fence and it is a mosquito headquarters? So.
It could be.
All right. Anyway, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio here on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break. Alan, when we come back, I want to talk about my increasing respect for tree cutters.
Okay.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome to Hour 2 of Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our buddy Max behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989 and go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and give us a like. Check out our must-have item of the week. Check out all of our past shows. There's links there. And you can check out, the platform of your choice. Allan leans towards YouTube. I lean towards Spotify with that. Now, Allan, I love YouTube for my videos or I watch a lot of YouTube, but when I'm on the move, I want my Spotify because I just plug it in, put on my earpiece and go.
Well, as I like to say, Joe, there is an app for that.
Absolutely. But there's no reason to miss out on anything that we do here on Tool Talk Radio. It's all over the place. So, and join the Tool Talk radio community. So, hey, Allan,
I'd like to point out,
the
Tool Talk community keeps getting a little bigger. A little shout out to our friends down in the Dominican Republic, our new listeners in Canada, the UK, Ireland, Scotland. Scotland popped up this week. So
now wait a minute, Allan. You've got relatives in Scotland. I've got relatives in Ireland. When are they going to call the show, man?
I'm ready. We got
all right, you bozos, give us a call. Yeah, come on, support the family, right?
Yeah, so a little family pride there.
Okay, yeah, it's fun because people can listen from anywhere in the world. So it's always interesting to see or to hear who's listening. So, but Allan, before the break, we've been talking about a lot of things. We've been talking about cinder block walls. We've been talking about laser technology and how that's really improving our lives and making it easier to measure things, to do work around our home, to detect moisture, to detect, I know you use it to detect temperatures for like
Yes.
Defective light sockets and things
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh, yes, yes.
A lot of interesting stuff to talk about. I wanted to mention something because this came home to me. Actually, it was happening, 2 doors down from this cinder block wall that I'm working on. This is a pretty established neighborhood, so the trees are massive. This is,
Okay.
when you're flying into Memphis and all you see is a bunch of trees, you don't see any homes.
We're a little bit green from above.
It's
yes,
very
we
green.
are.
These are, so this tree had to be 100 feet tall, and apparently it was one of these, it was ready to come down. I guess it was getting dangerous because during the last storm, pretty big limbs had fallen. So these guys pulled up they had a crane that was, just the, what is it? They have like these legs that come out to stabilize it so
Right.
it doesn't tip over. That alone took up the whole street. Like
Yes.
it blocked the entire street up. And so this guy gets on the cable. It's got like kind of a little mini, it's got a hook, but it's got to weigh it down. It's got like a steel ball. I say steel. It's probably the size, 3 feet across or something. And not a big wrecking ball, but enough to keep the cable straight. And then he straps the chainsaw to his belt, and they hoist him up to the top of this tree. Alan.
Yes.
It was nuts. I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm not really afraid of heights, but I don't think I would like that.
You don't want to be hanging from the bucket, as they like to call it.
Well,
Yeah.
it was a whole team operation because you got the guy up there, and I have to imagine they have a certain set of signals they're going to have to use too. Because there
Right.
was a guy on the ground, there's the person doing the boom operator, and there's another person to make sure that some neighbor doesn't walk by, and traffic direction, everything. And it's like I'm just thinking these guys put their lives on the line every day doing this. This is nothing to sneeze at. I saw about 50 ways the guy up on the cable could, be killed. I hate to say it. It looked really dangerous, but
Well, this is one of these things where, you and I love to talk about a lot of DIY stuff. Mm-hmm. But there are just certain topics that you get to that we look at each other and go, you need to call somebody.
oh yeah.
Memphis is renowned for its beautiful trees.
Yeah.
And we do have some spectacular elms, oaks, some huge yellow pines. We have got some spectacular, truly spectacular trees. And you are right. As you found out personally, once they reach a certain age, they start, becoming less than desirable.
Well, if this thing fell on the house, I don't even know what it would do. If it
Right.
fell on the telephone, if it fell on the wires, if it fell on the street, it's just this thing was gigantic, and so it gets to a point where it's dangerous. But it's one thing for you to hear about. Oh yeah, they came by and they
Right.
cut down a tree. When you actually see it in action, and these limbs that were falling down, they're probably weigh as much as a car. And they're
Easily,
having to figure out,
Yeah.
and so you're up there. I don't know. It's just a very coordinated thing. And I would also say this is not a situation for, Chuck in his truck
No.
to cut your tree down and accidentally,
Yeah, it really takes a well-organized crew. It is a very delicate dance because just basically at the heart of the arborist job is gravity.
there you go.
So
Very good
whatever's
point.
up there, it's coming down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether it's coming down now or coming down in a week or coming down in a month,
Right.
I would rather know where and when it's coming down rather than, that limb will come out on its own. You walk around Memphis right now before we only have another week or two before the leaves really get going.
Yeah.
And it's going to cover all this up. But you look in the top of almost any big tree in Memphis, you will see a cross limb that is broken off
Oh, yeah.
and is being supported by the other limbs.
Yeah.
It's coming down
Something's going to take it down at some
sooner
point.
or later. And, we call those things widow makers for a reason.
Absolutely.
You
So,
do not want to get hit by these things.
yeah, maintain your tree. And the other thing about that gravity, Alan, that you're talking about is when it falls, all it takes is if that limb clips one little thing on the way down, it's going to change the whole trajectory. It's going to fall in a different spot. So stand back
Yes.
and don't park your car anywhere near.
No.
We parked way down the street. We weren't, we didn't want any accidents, but or something could snap and bounce and suddenly go through the window across the street. But hats off to all these tree crews out there taking care, because they're still working and there's still fallout from that storm.
Oh, they are. They have
month.
another month's worth of work to do easily.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, Allan, I'm sort of intrigued. Max has another one of his deep cuts, and the teaser for it intrigued me. It said Buddhism, suffering, and home improvement. So we're going to get to that when we come back. Max, I'm very curious what you've got in store for us.
Sounds intriguing.
You're listening to Tool Talk Radio here at News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Oh, I'm afraid the deflector shield will be quite operational when your friends arrive.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
I will say this for you, Allan. No matter what goes wrong at your house, you always keep your deflector shield in full operation.
Absolutely.
Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our buddy Max behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling hotline at 901-683-0989 and go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and give us a like and check out all the action over there. Speaking of Big M Roofing, Allan, Jay Hill, what a busy guy. He was swamped. He always is over at the home show of the Mid-South. He was there last week, set up, and nonstop traffic because people, they need his expertise. If you don't know Jay Hill and you have any roofing issues, you're going to want to get to know him because he is a GAF master installer. He's accredited with the Better Business Bureau. He's accredited with Good Housekeeping, always 5-star reviews. He's got a great crew and a great culture over there at Big M Roofing and Remodeling.
They really do.
And his sort of ace in the hole is the fact that he's a former insurance agent because when you're dealing with roofing and even some remodeling, sometimes it's covered by your homeowner's insurance, and it's not a simple process of just calling your insurance company and saying, "Hey, are you going to fix this for me?" You need
I promise you it's not.
You need the right expertise and you need the right person to help you navigate that process. And so Jay Hill kind of checks all those boxes. They do great work, and Jay's just a lot of fun anyway. He's a dynamic personality. Just get on the phone with him, man. You'll see what we mean.
That's putting it lightly.
He's great to work with. He's helped all of us, actually, Allan.
Yes.
So we can speak with some authority. Give him a call at 901-484-5645. And you can also go to bigmroofingandremodeling.com. And a lot of the remodeling he's taking on these days is very unique. He kind of likes unique projects, I've discovered. So
he does not shy away from a challenge.
No, absolutely. So get in touch with him. bigmroofingandremodeling.com. All right, Max, I was intrigued by your deep cut. We always there we go. I don't think of Buddhism, suffering, and home improvement. It's they all make sense independently, but connect these for us, sir.
So this kind of started back with when I was back in college, one of my majors was in Japanese, and so that language scholar part of me is still sort of retained. And I'd heard about the idea of like Buddhism talking about the idea of like the world is filled with suffering and everything. And I'm like, I wonder what the actual translation of this term is. And it turns out the Sanskrit term for suffering that we use is more accurately translated as like unsatisfactoriness or stress. The term is dukkha. But what's really interesting is I love getting into the etymology of these words. And the etymology for the term dukkha, well, let me read a little bit of an article that I have pulled up. It says, the word dukkha is made up of the prefix du and the root ka. Du means bad or difficult. Ka means empty. Empty here refers to several things. One of the more specific meanings refers to an empty axle hole of a wheel. And if the wheel fits badly into the center hole, we get a very bumpy ride. And this is kind of a good analogy for our ride through samsara, which is the Buddhist term for experience or existence.
That's okay. Who would have thought the word suffering comes from, like, I'm just thinking of an axle that's, or you know, if you have a dowel in a hole and it's loose or it's not fitting right or so. I would have never put that together. The Japanese language is very interesting.
It's not Japanese, it's Sanskrit.
We went back a little further than that
gotcha.
one.
But would you have picked that, Alan? I mean, because we've had the wheel for how many millennia, so they knew about axles and everything.
I actually have several Sanskrit of posters and idioms around my house. So, yeah, I would have. So
that's very
I kind of know where he's going with this. The great thing is, you know, you get to the 3 vinegar tasters. And this is where I'm going to throw in something about home improvement, and the direction you're going. And it's going to sound a little contrite, but it does kind of answer your question. Because the running gag is mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. So it depends on what you're paying attention to in your home as to whether or not you're happy with it or not.
Exactly. That's why that makes me think of more of the term it being translated to unsatisfactoriness. Whether or not you have sort of like, it all depends upon your approach to life and everything. You could look at a wrecked roof and be like, oh, this is terrible or whatever. Or you could look at the wrecked roof as like an opportunity. I like that idea of like, I just kind of like that idea of approach. It's all about how you look at it, all about how you approach stuff and everything. And I feel that's an important disposition to have when you're doing home improvements.
Well, I'm actually involved in a project right now with a couple of facilities where they are doing exactly the philosophy you just brought up. They are looking at a few things that they are unhappy with because they're not meeting their needs. And they're going to make some actually fairly minor changes. And it's going to have massive, massive results. So to tie this into the average DIY homeowner, it is now glorious outside. I seriously, I mean, I'm still. I was during the break fussing and carrying on about my own roof back from the big storm on the 3rd, and Joe and I are both utterly amazed at the amount of tree work and tree damage and the amount of everything that happened with this storm just 3 weeks ago. However, the weather this week is absolutely beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, and people are really starting to look at, now what are we going to do? We've had 2 years of pandemic, and we finally got this spring where maybe it's time to get outside and start looking around. And this is, and Joe, I'm even going to tie in your cinder block since you brought in, be careful how you play with fire.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw out there, I'm going to take what Max just said, and I'm going to say, all right, here's a little bit of a challenge for our listeners. We need some pictures. We need some ideas of what do you want to do with your patio or with what do you want to do new? Because this is a new spring. We can get back outdoors again. We can get back into the stores. We got lots of material available again, finally. The supply chains are kind of warming up again. So I would love to see some pictures from our listeners going, okay, this is that bad spot in my patio that I'm unsatisfied with, and what would I like to do with it? Yeah. How's that for a nice challenge?
Okay.
Because now's the perfect time to think about a fire pit or possibly a water feature. Or maybe it's time to rearrange that room. You know, has the living room ever really worked for you? Or is it just legacy thinking? Legacy thinking is when, well, this is the way the room's always been. Well, but the room may have always been like this, but is the room actually living up to your current needs?
To your satisfaction.
To your satisfaction. Well, myself in particular, I've had a lot of mobility changes in the last 5 years. I've gone from exceedingly mobile to basically furniture, and now I'm becoming more mobile again. So my needs and other such around the house have changed fairly drastically. So are you happy with it? Do you want to move it around? I think Max is on to a huge topic for this spring. What is making you unsatisfied, and what are you going to do about it?
What's the dukkha in your life?
See, I'm sort of intrigued with the notion of suffering coming from a badly fitting axle. I'm still going to, because at its most basic, you've got let's suppose you've got a fixed item like the axle itself, and then you've got a spinning wheel, and where those two intersect is dysfunctional. And I'm thinking, if you want to get real philosophical, it's mind meeting matter.
Yes, it is.
And somewhere that intersection is disrupted. And so if you can, I don't know. I'm very intrigued by this, Max. You need to, maybe it is just a matter of getting yourself in the right frame of mind with the matter that you're dealing with. There's something, don't slip out because
totally
you got to
with
fix
this.
your roof or something. I don't know.
Right.
I'm gonna have to marinate on this, Max. But I'm very intrigued that the notion of suffering comes from such a practical.
Well,
it's not. I mean,
Well, the term did originally come from the Aryans who brought the Sanskrit language to India, and they were a nomadic and horse and cattle breeding people, so they would have their culture might have revolved heavily around these sorts of vehicles, and so thus where the term would kind of get its origin.
And if you're going to travel, with everything you own on a vehicle like a cart, and it breaks down, that is suffering. So
well, and one of the guides I saw a while back was, we may not know what makes you happy, but we know what makes you unhappy.
There you go.
And that is when things do not work smoothly.
Very interesting, Max. So the etymology of words, it's always intriguing.
It kind of makes you have to think about the words that we're actually speaking right now. Like we're breaking down like the prefixes and suffixes of certain words. Like we're speaking something, and we might not necessarily understand the deeper meaning behind what we're saying.
Absolutely, yeah. We're deep here at Tool Talk Radio. All right, Allan. Hey, very good, Max.
We're in deep something. I'm not sure.
We're in deep. Hey, Allan, we're going to take a quick break. Very well done, Max. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio here at News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. When we come back, we're going to talk about our must-have item of the week.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Now, this is the forklift. You need a license to operate this machine. That means the upstairs office workers can't drive it. Quiz, Mike. Should you drive the forklift?
I can and I have.
No.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Yeah, nobody's giving him a forklift license, Allan, I can tell you that.
Goodness.
Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry, and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, we invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and give us a like and check out our must-have item of the week, which we'll get to shortly, Allan. And listen to all of our past shows. Just get involved with the whole Tool Talk Radio community. Well, before the break, we were talking, Max brought us another one of his deep cuts, which had to do with basically where the word suffering came from back in Sanskrit, right, Max?
The Buddhist term for suffering, which is actually an inaccurate translation. It's a little bit. There is no one English term that you could use, but they use unsatisfactoriness these days.
What I zeroed in on, Allan, is the fact that it had to do with an axle not working, like an axle malfunctioning, you could say, because
a simple device not working well.
And that's the root for suffering. And as Max mentioned, they were a nomadic people. They had to travel. Having your wheels work correctly was might have been life or death. We don't know.
Very easily could have been.
But Max, you had a good quote that kind of sums up how this approach can apply to home improvement. What was that?
It's a Buddhist quote where they say, "Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional."
There you go. Yep. Very good. I think that applies to pretty much everything. So.
I'm thinking of it spring and gardening because of, a lot of people look at me and like, all right, when do you have time to do all this stuff? And the trick is take the time, take the extra pain, takes the extra effort, and build or overbuild whatever it is you're doing right on the front end.
Okay.
A lot of people... this is like a big theme all summer long. A lot of people tell me about how their gardens are failing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I dug this up. I put in tomato plants, and I grew a lot of weeds. I was like, okay, maybe you need a different kind of gardening. Sometimes if you'll I'm going to agree with Max there and say, if you take I'm going to take the word pain and I'm going to make it the extra effort. If you put a little extra effort into the front end of it to make it more satisfactory to yourself, you can get a year to several years of relatively painless use.
So you do the pain up front.
Yeah, I'd rather get the extra work in there on the front end. I really would.
I kind of have a similar philosophy when it comes to decluttering and cleaning and everything. I like the idea of our big messes are just the result of smaller messes that we've allowed to accumulate. And it kind of makes me think of the idea of like we take the extra 15 seconds, we take the extra quote unquote pain at the offhand, but that prevents future suffering later on because we allowed a smaller mess to become a bigger mess.
Okay.
Yeah, the compound interest version of junk.
Yeah. It's always interesting the direction the conversations take on Tool Talk Radio, Alan, because I'm sitting here thinking about it. We're talking about the entomology of words. We're thinking about, we're getting philosophical.
Entomology is the study of bugs. Etymology is the study of words.
All right.
Word origins.
We're learning to be corrected by our junior. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Max. But it's always interesting, and I think it's a valid discussion to have on the show because I still feel like it makes you a better, it makes you maybe a more satisfied homeowner. It makes you a more effective, and especially when you understand the bigger picture. I guess that's what we try to bring here. So,
today we have so many amazing products available. We've been talking about lasers all day. We've been talking about cinder blocks, and a cinder block was a genius idea. Here you had, for years and years and years, coal. It was everywhere, and the leftover product from the coal, the quote-unquote cinders.
Right.
And here somebody comes along and goes, hey, I got a great use for that.
Yeah.
And now we have relatively inexpensive building materials that you can as easily as go down to your big box store and get a truckload of.
Sure.
And we have, we said pickup trucks today. What an amazingly convenient vehicle to have if you need to go get and haul bulky items.
And another example of less is more. It's just a big open space with a gate on the back, and you throw things in there. I mean, how much simpler could you get? So
it's not, not difficult ideas, but so many people over the last 100 years, and this is a huge shout out to the last 100 years, we've gone from basically a simple but yet difficult agrarian society where you kind of had to do everything yourself to now we have a very open and very accessible access to market, goods, services. When was the last time you had to go out and cut down your own tree to make lumber? You didn't.
Right. Yeah.
If you need a tool these days, you don't have to wait for the blacksmith to figure it out. You just pop down to your big box store, and there are 8 tools sitting there you didn't know existed that now you got to have.
Yep. As we say,
just pointing out.
Quit complaining. We're living in an extraordinary time. We have
Amazing
problems.
times.
We're always going to, I got news, people. There's always problems. There's always war. There's always difficulties. But in the big picture, I still feel like we're moving forward. I like to think so.
We're doing pretty darn good these days.
Okay, Alan, in a minute, we're going to shift gears to our must-have item of the week. But before we get to that, I would assume that you're still busy at work over there with darkoakmedia.com.
Oh, yes.
They never sleep.
Boy, do we never sleep. Goodness gracious. Coming up in the next couple of days will be Scott J. Carroll's CC Entertainment Spotlight. We just posted ShadowCon. So for those of you that have...
That was in January.
Yeah, we got
took
that
so long?
posted up. We got a lot of editing to do.
Jeez,
however,
okay.
we will also have the experience of what it's like to go to a home show for the first time.
Because Scott J. Carroll, he's kind of a character. He stepped into a Geek Tank Radio last week.
Yes, he
was
did.
a guest. But is this his first home show?
He'd never been to this kind of home show before.
Oh, okay, because he was the videographer for last week.
So he ran around and shot a lovely show of what the experience was like as a first-timer.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely adorable, and we'll have that up this week.
Yeah, and he posted a video that showcases one of the great reasons to go to these home shows, and that's because you'll never have to buy another ballpoint pen for the rest of the year. That's one that everybody gives away pens with their company logo on there. I got quite a number. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I'll take a free pen.
You have a sizable collection,
right? So all right. So how do they get or how do they follow all
they got to
action?
do is they can pop over to darkoakmedia.com and just click on the show link that you want.
Okay.
Or they can pop over to Geeky Side TV on your Roku television, and you can watch all of our shows there as well.
Okay, awesome. Allan, okay, so we're shifting gears. If you've already gone to our Facebook page this morning, then you already know what I'm about to show everybody. But tell people what I'm holding up here, Allan.
You are holding up the fabulous C-clamp.
Okay, so here we go again.
Now you have one of the nicer ones.
Well, so you call it a C clamp. I call I was taught this is called a bar clamp because in shop class, whatever. It's a pretty robust clamp, but this is a portable one. This is a 4-inch.
Right.
This one, because they come in all lengths and sizes, and basically a bar clamp, folks, is it's pretty open, which is good, and it's
kind of shaped like the letter C. And block letters.
To me, it looks more like a G. Whatever. Who cares, Allan? I guess, or if you closed it, it could look like a P. But anyway, it's based on how long the bar is how long.
Right.
If it's a 6-inch, it means you have a 6-inch opening.
6-inch back bar, yes.
And the funny thing about bar clamps, folks, is there's not a huge difference in price. You might get a 24-inch bar clamp, and it's really not all that much more than a 12-inch because all it is one piece of bar. And there's also ones that are made on pipe or something, but they're incredibly strong. And the reason these grab so well is there's a little locking mechanism that bites into these teeth that are cut into the bar. But this is one of these things, Allan. I use this quite a bit because if I'm working outside, building a patio cover or something, maybe you have to clamp a couple of 2x4s together and hold them in place while and keep them in a precise spot while you're, screwing them together or something. And it's like you said, it's that extra set of hands. We are big clamp fans.
Oh my gosh.
You can never have too many clamps.
All right. Word of warning for those of you that get into doing any type of woodworking, automatically means you now have a clamp issue.
Yeah.
Because you will not walk by any hardware store ever that has a sale on clamps and walk out without a clamp.
Yeah.
Because you always need another one.
Now, one thing I will say in fairness is if you're clamping something together and you're doing like a precise, let's call it a precise clamp down.
Right.
Okay, one thing you have to keep in mind is the handle here twists to tighten it.
Yes, it does.
And if you need something that's butted together precisely, you have to kind of gently twist it because if you just torque it in there, it's gonna twist it with it, and it'll knock it out of center and everything. So, but they're really handy, and I just love them. And for the most part, they're pretty durable. Usually, if there's a battle between a clamp and a piece of wood, the clamp usually wins. So,
I used several of those yesterday. I was building an office.
Yeah, they're great, and just get yourself a good supply of clamps, especially if you're going to get into working with tools or work. These are sort of fundamental. Keep the clamps handy and take good care of them, and get a variety because you're going to use them all. So, all right, well that's our must-have item of the week, Allan, and if you've got suggestions for our must-have item of the week, like if there's something that you just love that you have in your tool belt, send that to us. Send it to it at Tool Talk Radio at their Facebook page. Anyway, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio here on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and then, Allan, mosquito season is here.
Oh, yes.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
But hear me and hear me well. The day will come. Oh, yes. Mark my word. Your day of reckoning is coming when an evil wind will blow through your little play world and wipe that smug smile off your face. And I'll be there in all my glory, watching as it all comes crumbling down.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
Yeah, I worked with him.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, when Allan's finished with a job.
Oh.
I thought that was an appropriate way to end the show. A little revenge.
Yeah, very good. Gosh, good old Newman. Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbert from darkoakmedia.com and the stellar Max behind the glass.
I successfully killed Joe.
The rejoiner of all rejoiners, Allan. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And, of course, go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out all the action over there and join the Tool Talk family and share it with your friends and check out all of our past shows. In a minute, Allan, we're going to get to our... I'm calling this Critter Wars. It's about bugs. They count.
It's on.
Before we get to that, I want to remind everybody, if you live here in the Mid-South and you need a deck or a patio cover or a pergola or a fence or really anything made out of wood for the outside of your home, you can call me at 901-921-7105 or go to my website, thorshomes.com. Allan, this job that I'm at... it's really interesting. I told you it's over there across from Overton Park, which is a really neat part of town. It's actually one of my favorite parts of town. I love to get out there. There's a golf course. There's a Brooks Museum. There's the zoo. It's just there's a park. It's unfortunately the College of Art closed. Maybe they'll come back one day, or hopefully they'll use something. Use the building for something, but it's really a neat part of town, but it's very historic and it's got a lot of established trees, a lot of established homes. But boy, I'm getting a lot of mileage out of this job, Allan. There was a tree trimmer there. Well, I say tree trimmer. They were cutting down a 100-foot tree that was pretty damaged. I told you about the unusual cinder block wall that I'm dealing with. Well, among other things, Allan, we've touched on the fact that this has been a weird year. It's like I already feel like we're here into spring, even though technically I don't think we're done with winter yet. But it reminded me that mosquito season is here, because we talked about all the unusual places water can gather, which is basically the breeding ground for mosquitoes. But I'd had a few.
It can be the craziest, smallest amount of water, too.
But on this job, Allan, I'm getting a wide variety of bug issues, you could say. There's a lot of work being done at this house. My customer had a landscaping team over there, and they dug a huge trench because they're installing some new drainage and some things like that. And what I noticed was, in addition to some of the mosquitoes that were already out, when they stirred up the dirt like that, and when they dug out the trench, all of a sudden there were all these new bugs, and then that were zipping around. And then one other thing, Allan, there was I have some plastic that's hung up over, like plastic sheets that's hung over the patio cover that I'm using because I need it to stay dry before I paint it and everything. So, and there was all these bugs gathered there, and it's like, okay, what's going on here, Allan? It seems like it's already coming in with a vengeance here.
Well, one thing is they dug up the soil.
Yeah, so I'm curious about that.
A lot of the pupa in the soil have already gotten warm. They dug it up, and we had, was it almost 75-degree day yesterday?
Yeah,
so
it was warm.
All that nice warm sunshine on it, those little guys are hatching right on out. So you're probably...
They hatch that fast. Huh?
Oh, yeah. They're ready to go as soon as that temp gets there.
Oh, boy.
So you're probably, of course, in our area, we deal with a lot of fungus gnats. And these are those little black, tiny, sort of a fruit fly, mosquito-looking little thing. They don't really bother humans that much, but they do get into your plants. They will get into your pots, and their little larvae will eat the roots of your plants. And
I didn't know that. So they're destroying stuff. So.
Yeah, they're not what you want to see hanging around your potted plants.
Yeah.
You're also going to get a lot of thrifts and other small, winged insects coming up out of the soil this time of year if you're working around it quite a bit. And, of course, our buddy the mosquito.
Yeah.
And this is one of these things where, all right, if you've got debris around your property, be it a tire, plastic bottles, or even, I love to point out to everybody, don't leave excess pots like you put plants in lying around.
Yeah.
Flip them over, whatever. Make sure, because a lot of the pots, especially the ones that are quote unquote self-watering,
Oh, right.
They have a little tray of water underneath your plant. Well, if you don't have plants in them, you now just have a tiny little pond, and I promise a mosquito can get down in there.
And what about you might have a big pile of limbs or a big pile of leaves that you never got rid of? Well, water can sit in there.
Oh.
They don't need much water, do they?
They will exploit any water source that you provide.
Right. So, and I guess I've asked you this in the past, but I don't know. Allan, if let's just suppose, okay, you've got mosquitoes, they're breeding in your yard. How far do they travel? Like, what's the blast radius? In other words, like how far is it?
How hard is the wind blowing?
So these things will travel, right?
They can get blown around everywhere. So this is all right, here's your worst problem.
Okay.
Is somewhere within, let's say, a mile of your house, somebody has a swimming pool that they've given up on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
or there's just some swamp water.
Or you have a low-lying area you have someplace that got too much rain. You got someplace where you now have standing water.
Okay.
And I mean more than a bucket. I mean standing water, at least 50 gallons or more. You now have a full-fledged mosquito production facility. And these things will crank out hundreds of mosquitoes a day.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, you welcome, Memphis is, we're a very moist, wet area. We're actually kind of swampy in areas. And mosquitoes have, we were even, if I go back, 1880s, 1890s, we were yellow fever.
Oh, right. That's how that was transmitted.
We had, we had some water issues. We've had some mosquito problems in our past. And when somebody leaves a golden opportunity, we were cleaning up a property not too long ago, Joe, and found a bathtub. And guess what? It was full of water.
Gee.
And it was, full of thingies you didn't want living in the water. So you got to be careful. The water, I know we say this all the time, but water is honestly the enemy. If it's not in a controlled area, it's not doing you good.
Well, let me ask you this, Allan, because here's what I'm wondering. Because, we always talk about there's an app for that. And there's got to be some frequency, or there's got to be some scent or some smell, or there's got to be something that would repel mosquitoes in a natural way. Maybe there's some plant out there that they don't like or something. I'm just imagining. I wonder if there's a way to...
you just glossed over about $100 billion worth of industry.
That's what I'm saying. It's like if we could do something where we drive the mosquitoes into the woods or something and away from us. Because, I don't know, I'm sure they serve an ecological purpose. I'm sure there's bugs that really rely on eating them and everything. But I feel like it's not going to be the end of the world if we start lowering the mosquito population or something.
We can get into
or keeping them in their lane. I don't care if they're in the forest,
Well, we could start off with mosquitoes with inventions like dragonfly simulators. Seriously, you can buy things that make the sound of dragonfly wings, and dragonflies are also known as mosquito hawks.
Wait a minute. So the mosquitoes can pick up on sound?
Yes.
And, well, there you go. You just got it. Boom, right there.
Yeah, well,
we put little speakers all around the perimeter of our property and scare them off, right?
Well, now the thing that actually does work is the Mosquito Trap. And this is it costs a couple of $100, and it's propane powered. But basically, it will emulate the breath of a living mammal. And it has a trap on it, and you can trap and destroy enough mosquitoes on your property that you will collapse their local population.
Okay, but the thing is, though, you're attracting them. I want to repel them. I want to send them over to
You're sending them to their death because it has a little trap underneath there. So you're making potential fish food.
Well, I'm not necessarily interested in wiping them out, Allan. I just don't want them biting me. I would like to be out in the backyard and not get eaten alive by mosquitoes.
Yeah,
so.
Well, sir, we're discussing millions of dollars worth of businesses that are devoted to mosquito repellation and or attraction.
How about this, Allan? I'm just brainstorming here on the show. What if we create a way to just keep mosquitoes from flying any lower than like 15 or 20 feet above us. If they're flying above us and they're, up in trees, I don't care. Just keep them away from ground level.
So Congress is going to make like these, all right, mosquitoes, we have laid out these stipulations before thee.
Well,
keep them in their space, basically.
This is also the guy that wanted to invent the ant apartment to keep them living away from the house.
Keep them in their airspace. Go ahead. You can stay above us, or you can go into the forest. Just leave us alone. I think there's somebody out there, some enterprising person is going to come up with a solution.
There are a number of services out there that will help you control the mosquitoes in your yard.
Is it enterprising or just too much free time on their hands?
It's a little of both. Or a guy that's, hey guys, watch this, that type of thing. I don't know. Somebody out there needs to come up with a solution for this.
The bug dominium.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about $1 trillion idea. It's coming. So, well, what a show, you guys. Very interesting. Very interesting discussions, philosophical. We learned about the history of words and everything. But unfortunately, time waits for no one. So it's time to get out of here. So on behalf of my friends Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.